So, thanks for taking the time for this website review. I know that you submitted a few questions in advance, and I like to leave a little bit of time at the end as well, just to see if you have any outstanding questions. Happy to help there as well. I know one of the questions that you asked was for the simplicity of the site, is Squarespace best? So I was taking a look at the various pages and that kind of thing. And I think for this case, Squarespace is a good option just because you have a lot of media. And, there's not, any kind of like complicated stuff that we are adding to the site here. So I think like Squarespace is really, if you feel comfortable, using it, updating it, I think it's great to stay with that platform just because it makes it really easy.
Yeah, and I think and it was the beginning was just have a home, have
Mhm.
a page, have a domain that I could send anybody interested to go to, and yes, to use it kind of as a placeholder for headshots, for reels, for clips, stuff like that. I do believe that I was limited when I initially made it just due to my hardware. The computer was a little bit older and it could only process so much at a time. For example, the homepage with I don't know, what is that, 10, 11 videos all playing at once, it got to be really complicated, which then made me keep it simple. I do think that in the future, as I grow, I would like for it to grow even as simple as these televisions being clickable and for them to open or for them to hold larger videos, which would be more space. So for now, with the collection being as small as it is, I do like the how clean it is and how simple it is. But I do also, if I'm going to be building onto it, I want to make sure that foundation is strong enough that it can support additional pillars if and when I get to that point, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I love that idea of, making the TVs clickable and that kind of thing. I think from like a back end perspective, you might need to look at positioning them in more of like a grid format, just from like being able to target each one individually. So that might be something to consider as you move forward. Um, just maybe like a stacked format or something. It doesn't have to be like, it could be kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
But that's something to consider there. Um, I know you also mentioned too, like you don't get a lot of website traffic right now. Are there methods that you're using to drive people there?
No. At this point, no. It really for now it's just a gallery. It's a place that I can send um people interested in seeing my acting specific um to just go there, to have headshots, to have looks, to have ideas, just for you to immediately get a sense of who I am and what I've done. And it's not something that I'm not actively creating content that I need to put somewhere. There's no vlogs, there's no blogs, there's no reason in my updated videos. I wouldn't say that they happen at such a clip where there are regular updates. There's no newsletter. There's no, hey, check out this last thing I did. Because those don't come in enough for me to necessarily warrant that as far as marketing myself at this point. It's yeah, it's a home and it's a place to develop from. Um, but yeah, there's no need for you to go check out kirkshow.com every week or every month because there's nothing at this point, nothing really changes.
Okay. So the reason that I was asking that, like, I don't know if there's any plans for like a social media or any kind of marketing stuff in the future, but one thing that I did want to mention is that if you're going to go that route, take a look at your analytics. Just because like over time, you'll be able to see where traffic is coming from in the analytics. And so maybe you say, maybe for example, like you start getting a lot of traffic from Instagram. That should be like a sign to like, okay, we need to lean more into Instagram because that is going to be like that is the leading, that's what's working to drive people to the site. And that's the audience that seems to be really engaged. And so really leaning into that, looking at like, and then you could even dissect it further to be like, okay, well, what am I doing on Instagram? Am I posting videos? Am I posting stories? Like, what am I going live? Like, what is happening and where am I getting like the most traction? I don't know if you set up your Instagram as a creator or professional mode, the type of account, but you can get pretty in depth in analytics there as to like what people are engaging with and that kind of thing.
Cool. Yeah. And no, right now it's still just personal, but that is something that, you know, I feel I'm spinning a few plates here with my career, and that is definitely something that if and when I lean into that creator world
Hmm.
more, then it'll likely require a separate Instagram. And then yeah, you're totally right. Seeing where the traffic's coming from, seeing what it is I'm doing that's driving people. Um, cool.
One other thing that I wanted to mention when it comes to the traffic too, and this is kind of like its own thing, but it's something that you could dive into should you want to go this route, is that I was looking at some of the search engine optimization on the site, and I think there's definitely a lot of room for opportunity. I don't know if you can see this overlay. Let me know if you can.
Yeah.
But this is called the detailed SEO extension. But basically, what this does is it gives you like a high level overview of the search engine optimization for every page on your website. So essentially, what this is like the title and description are what show up in Google search results and other like if you search up even like your name or Los Angeles actor or that kind of thing like those are the types of terms that you want to be at the top of search results, right? If somebody is searching for maybe a particular genre or something specific for whatever they're casting, that might be something to leverage there. At the very bare minimum, I would say like the title and description are like really, really important to get set up on every page of the site.
Okay.
There's a lot that goes into search engine optimization. I won't be able to cover everything here, but title, description, and then I would also suggest getting at least one H1 header onto every page. So you'll see that in the back end of Squarespace where it'll say like, do you want to add this as like header text or paragraph text when you add text to the page? But basically, Google and other search engines will look at that H1 tag and that it would essentially see that as like the most important text on the page. So that helps to give it like context clues as to what the page is going to be about.
Cool. Yeah, that tracks. That makes a lot of sense.
So if you want a deep dive on search engine optimization, there's a lot that goes into it. But this is something that would be a really easy fix. You could probably fix this in like an hour or so, like on your site or less, just so that you can start sending Google those signals.
Cool.
Um, and then it's funny that you mentioned the mailing list because that is something that I had on my list as well to cover. Should you ever want to add it in the future, it's definitely something that I would suggest like adding as a section like on your homepage, if you had the section to do so. I know you also asked too about mobile versus web. So one easy way to check for this, you obviously want to check on your phone, but when I'm on desktop, one easy way to do this is just to make the browser smaller, like this. And so you can see like some of these are getting cut off just a little bit. This is something where in Squarespace you can switch over to the mobile version and control this image individually. I will say that this is the only page that this seemed to happen on, so that's really good. None of the other content on the other pages was getting cut off when I was testing it. But yeah, this is something that you might want to take a look at in the back end there.
Yeah, and it's been a couple of years since I set it up initially, and it is yeah, with those televisions being a graphic that I overlaid all the videos on, I do feel limited, and somewhere within the brain of Squarespace and the orientation of it, I have found flaws, but I also think that maybe even with having the idea of this, which I enjoy and I like, and then maybe with the new hardware going in and starting again from the beginning, maybe any advances within Squarespace and advances on my end, I think they'll probably synergize and make it a little more seamless. But no, thanks for checking that because it is. There's I don't drive a lot of traffic, but if it is on a phone and it's all it takes is that split second of error and you're like, oh, I'm already out.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, luckily on the other pages, I didn't see any issues. This was like the only piece right
And
here.
I think it's because of the initial size of the television and graph, and just the plate that's back there, I think is what's warping it. But because it
Mhm.
does seem that within Squarespace on the other pages, the headshots or the clips or anything, um, it does feel more streamlined as far as okay, let's just drop some photos in here and it knows exactly what to do. But it's
Mhm.
figuring it out.
Um, I had some other notes too, as far as like the homepage goes. I would love to see a bit more text and content on the homepage if you're open to doing so. I personally love the graphic, but just like I think from like I always try to put myself in the brain of like who would be booking you. And so I think from that person's perspective, I think like, okay, like what would I need to see in order to make the decision to contact you? So perhaps using some keywords in there, maybe some like genre specific stuff, like I said before, like to tell your bookers, like, this is what I do. This is, what I'm trying to focus on. If you're primarily doing skits or comedy or, like what area you're trying to go in, because I think that's going to help when somebody lands here for the first time. They're going to be like, oh, this is the right person. Or like
Yeah,
at least I'm headed in the right direction, like looking at your content.
yeah. No, that makes yeah. You've got me. Okay, wheels turning. Um, yeah, let me think about how to fit that into what I'm doing. But that's no really good points, especially it being the homepage. It is boom. Here you go.
Yeah.
Comedy. Yes, you're right. Okay.
And I would think too, like when I say like more content, so not only describing like what it is that you want to do, but also giving them an opportunity to contact you. So maybe that looks like a button that says like contact me or inquire or like whatever the verbiage is that you want to use. But something that allows them to kind of take action and takes that next step, right? We do a good job here of kind of showcasing some of these clips, but I also would love to see like maybe some like recent work. So maybe like there's like a
Yeah.
section where it's like, you know, some of your best like portfolio pieces that you don't want them to miss. Maybe there's a section for that. Maybe there are some, if you have any testimonials, that's always great to add to there as well. One other thing you could do too is adding just some logos of like companies that you've worked with, or like it's just a really easy way to like build that credibility fast, just because if people see like, ABC or like, Paramount or like, those types of things are like really recognizable. And so it just builds that credibility on the page that much faster.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that tracks. And the nice thing about you is that your website gives you all that right there. So it was. I know exactly what you're talking about because I just saw it.
Mm.
Um, cool.
And then I don't know if you're doing any like live stuff right now, or if you do like any, okay, it's all
Not
like
really.
booked stuff. Okay. I was gonna
But
suggest maybe putting some of the live stuff if you do any live like shows or anything. Um, that could
yeah,
be,
it's in and yeah, I think it is. And you're right. And you, I think what we're getting at, and it's nice, is that it's these are all growth opportunities and reasons, and it's chicken and the egg at the same time. And right now, it does what I need it to is a weird way to put it at where it's at. But yes, there is, I mean, there has to be more growth. I mean, or else why are we doing what we're doing? Like there's absolutely ambition, and ideas and content and context and figuring out when it's setting it up for that influx if and when it happens. And it's when, it's not an if. And you're right. Yeah, lives, contents, current work, past. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. You've got me thinking for sure. And those are good, great thoughts to have in the kind of seedling phase that I am now for what Kirk show could become. Because I think we could both come up with great ideas. I think everybody, all you have to do is hear Kirk show, and you've already started to get some ideas. So it is, yeah, I dig it.
yeah. I think the key too is like that that balance between like really putting yourself in the shoes of like who's going to be coming to the site and who's going to
Yeah,
be making that decision, and also keeping like that element of like your personality. Like you can definitely see some of it in these like clips, right? You get like a really kind of a quick sense of like who you are. So it's like melding those two, like making it easy for that person who's coming here to be like, ooh, like pique their interest enough to reach out to you
yeah.
while also keeping that personality intact.
Yeah, no, and that's a let me write that down. Who's coming and then contact. No, the contact is a really important that's really important. And it is and it's impossible for me to know exactly why somebody would jump on the site, especially if we're talking about bringing in Google search optimization to the keywords and descriptions and opening it up. Because as of now, it's a very you already know who I am, and there's a reason you're going there. Be it headshot selection or clips, or I build a specific page on there that I send to you for this specific reason. But now you do have me thinking, now what about people who aren't necessarily going there because they already know who I am if they get there and need to understand who I am immediately and why,
Mhm.
and then have them take the action to reach out because they want me as opposed it's just turning it around. It's me saying, here's Kirk's show, this is me contacting you. It's you found Kirk's show, now you want to contact me.
Exactly.
That's good. I haven't and truly I haven't really thought about it from that direction, but I also haven't really had a reason to, but that's pre 2025. It's I mean, yeah, there's a lot of room for growth, and those are great things to be thinking about now.
Yeah, I mean, it opens up a whole other avenue for you to get business and
Yeah.
jobs and work.
Yeah, especially nowadays. Truly, 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 truly. Oh,
All right. So I have a few other notes too. So I know that you have your resume here, which I think is awesome. I would also love to see maybe like your bio slash some of your story. Like if you can write it out in a bit, like in your voice, I think that that would be really helpful. I'm sure that this is also helpful to somebody that might be reaching out to you. But I also like I'm craving more of that personality, right? Like this feels very like business forward, and you have just such a vibrant personality that I want to see some of that like come through on this page. Maybe we even like rename this page to something um like about or like something that is a bit broader than just your resume. Just to get a little bit more of that like spice, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, and this will, and it's, and that totally tracks, and maybe some color in there. That totally tracks, and it is, yeah, we keep going. I mean, we keep going back to the why, which is awesome because that's the most important part. And it is as of now, why would you come here? Yeah, resume
Mhm.
in this format because it's, the industry standard for what it is I'm doing. However, that is boxing me in as this is an actor's website as opposed to this is my website. And those are they have to overlap, but there is so much more that could be there. But yeah, no, great point. I like that. That's totally doable and fun.
And I think there's something to be said too about like, I feel like now, especially more than ever, like people are hiring based on more than just credentials. Like
Yeah.
people are wanting to know what it's going to be like to work with you on a personal level, like get to know you a little bit before they even ask you to come in to meet face to face. Um, so I think that that would really be helpful to give this page um, just a little bit more personality.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Okay.
Cool. And I know your other question was around any imaginative ideas that I got when I look at your site. So we already talked about this from like a hiring perspective, but really thinking about like what they would want to see, right? Like so thinking about like work samples, testimonials. I know you have a lot of great stuff on here. But like for me, if I'm coming to this site, and again, this is just you might not know better than I would who you is trying to hire you. But if I am coming here, I want to look at like maybe like the two or three best things. So right now, I would probably start from the top. Maybe that needs like I don't know. You would know better than I would. Like, are your best works at the top of every page? That's a question for you. If they're not, I would bump them to the top just because like we need to order things like in a way where it just makes it easy for whoever's coming here to kind of consume it and move on. Just because we have to like people are scanners when it comes to websites, like, you know, making sure that our headers are big and bold on the page, like look at like the way that you would the next time you go to a website, like look at how you like kind of go down the page and it's really just like the big bolded text that you're just looking for the content that you came there for.
Yeah.
Um, and that's really what we have to keep in mind as we're building out the site, just because like people are reading less and less, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it's really important to like structure the website in a way where we're kind of just like serving our best stuff to them to be like, here you go. This is what I want you to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I
that's,
would
and then man, it could even, I'll think about all this stuff, but even this page, for example, it could just be, I mean, I guess a question then would be, and it's gonna change. I'm thinking of the difference between a vertical scroll and a horizontal
Mhm.
scroll. Because if it's something like this, especially if it's the, it could just be a, gosh, it could just, I mean, it could just be a horizontal scroll through stuff where the first scene be, let it be the best. Maybe it's a comedy reel, maybe it's a full reel, and then getting into some swiping as opposed to scrolling. Maybe I'm thinking about it too much, but that could clean it up as well. The thing I like about it is how clean it is. Um, yeah, you
or
got me
like
thinking.
another idea too, like I know that there are multiple kind of categories here, like maybe dividing it up by category or like
Yeah.
Figuring out a way to organize it where, again, can people scan it to be like, where are all the comedy things? Or like, if I'm looking for a thriller type vibe, like, where can I find those, right? So maybe thinking about that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And and the hope and the the dream is that there will be more content and more content more and it will necessitate that at some point. It's and then but again, foundationally figuring out how to build it up where it becomes easier on the back end. That's what I like about it now is that it's easy for me to add headshots. It's easy for me to add clips, but it's also the time to take it, right now and add that voice to it and that personality and it yeah, good point. Okay. A lot to think about.
Yeah, for sure. And there might be some opportunity here to maybe like give a little bit more context in the actual text itself. Giving some more context as far as like who this work was for, like giving more details about like what the scene was, like, what are the relevant pieces of information that they might need. Again, I'm trying to fill it out a little bit more from a Google perspective, as well as what I might need to know from a content perspective as somebody who might want to hire you.
Yeah. And you're right about the truly, you're right about the Google perspective too. And even, yeah, just a scene description or character descriptions or something with keywords in there. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I understand the power of that. Cool.
One other thing I will mention too, and using this plugin again. So one thing that we want to keep in mind too is the word count per page. So in order for Google to recognize the page as a page on the internet, you want to hit a minimum of 250 words on the page. So that is something that we definitely want to keep in mind, especially if you are prioritizing the title and the description.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
any last questions about the site? I know that we kind of covered a lot. I kind of rapid fired at you.
No, no, it's great. Yeah, no, no, no. No, that's great. Like any last I'm not now. I don't think there is now. I think I've got enough homework to do with it to get it to a point where it's just better, just more fun, just more approachable, more interesting. Honestly, but then in the future when things are ready for another round, I mean, the beautiful thing is I know where to find you, which is great.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm always happy to help. And if any questions or anything pop up along the way, I'm pretty easy to get in touch with.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me marinate in this and just and make it happen. And it is an interesting thing because there's my prerogative, but there's also, an agent and or the industry's expectations, and there's a lot of room for play in there. And then there's also your perspective with design and intelligence and optimization and yeah, no, I think there's a lot of room for growth in a really fun direction, which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, one fun thing that could be interesting to play with is like plug it into AI. Like literally ask ChatGPT like if I act as a hiring, I don't know what the term is for somebody that might hire you, but might be some kind of manager or casting person.
Yeah.
Act as whatever that person's title is and tell me what elements I would need on my website in order to get an X type role or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I'm such a novice when it comes to that, but yes, there's a lot of creativity that could come out of there. That's a really good idea. That's something that, zero cost and unlimited reward off of that. So thanks, Meg.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions or anything?
I don't think so. Honestly, you just got me thinking,
Oh, good.
which is good. No, no, we've covered some great things. Thanks for the critique on the site. Thanks for seeing it with your eyes, giving me perspective on how others can see it, and then keeping it me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad it was helpful.